John Keim, of course, covers the Commanders for ESPN.com. Hey, John.
What up, guys? How are you?
How are you doing,
This
buddy?
team, you give the ball this team with 5 minutes or less and a chance to win it, they're going to win it.
It's a wrap.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is like, I think we've all been saying this, but there's not a single team in the playoffs that wants to see Jayden Daniels with the ball in that situation because they've come through time and time again. And listen, the quarterback drives that engine, but it's not just him.
Mm-hmm.
They just make plays in the end to win games.
Yeah.
And he's a driver, but these guys just have a strong belief. But yeah, there's when they hit midfield, 2 minutes left, like it's over.
It's not just him, but it wouldn't happen if he wasn't part of the ingredient.
Sure.
Yeah,
like I said, he's driving that train.
Yeah, no doubt.
There's a belief that's fueled that you need throughout everybody else and on the sidelines, et cetera. But yes, there's no doubt. Teams do not want to face this team with number 5 with the ball late in the game, needing one score.
I don't think so. And what really highlighted, and so you're in the press box, and I know you have some monitors around, but mostly you're looking at the field, I'm assuming.
Right. Right.
They kept showing these close-ups of Jayden throughout the game, and obviously you saw it at the end of the game, and we've seen it all year, but it never ceases to amaze me how calm he is in the middle of the storm.
He doesn't get too high or too low.
They got the camera right on his face, and there's 8 seconds left on the play clock, and he's just calmly looking at everything, maybe making a I mean, he never gets faced. It's unbelievable, John.
It's exactly what everybody told me before the draft about him and how he reacts to good plays or bad plays. But it's also like he's so wedded to what do you need to do right now? What is the process right now?
So locked in.
I mean, and so like someone even asked him what his emotions were like after the game. He's like, I don't know. I don't even think I smiled.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, what he remembers is Charlie Muley, telling him that he's got to do some interviews. That's what he remembered from that moment. And then of course you see him celebrating on the field before he's going in the locker room and going crazy. He's not a robot, but in those moments, he's locked in as much as anybody that we've seen at that position here in a long, long time, maybe ever.
John, how critical was that play, the 3rd and 1, where Cansey bursts through the line and grabs Jayden's towel off of his waist, and then Jayden just leaves him in his wake and gains the critical first down. I thought, wow, like he burst through with such quickness. I thought he was just going to drop him for a huge loss. But, I mean, Jayden found
he always finds a way to get away.
The edge there.
I'm pretty sure he thought he was going to drop him for a loss, too. But that's what he does. And, it's when it's funny because even yesterday, like going to the game, I was talking to Sam Fortier from the Post, like there's just certain athletes, you just say, they just get it done, whatever the situation is. And he is one of them. And he will be one of them for a long time. And I think in that moment, he had a shot, but there have been other guys who have that shot and also can't get him down. But, that was huge because then it allowed you to run out the clock. And I mean, it's what he does. It's funny because you try to think of better ways to describe something. It's like, you really can't. It's like, it's Jayden Daniels. Mm-hmm. This is what he does. I mean, and he's kind of a fun player to watch.
I got to tell you, I watched your and listen to your pod. I put it on YouTube when I'm driving in, so I kind of keep one eye on it and one eye on the road. Sorry, and I could see genuine enthusiasm from you, John. And I know that you're a pro.
Yeah.
And I know you probably don't really care. I know you're an Ohio State guy and all that. Dude, it seems like you're rooting. It seems like you're rooting for this team.
Let me say this. And you don't root, but it's hard not to get caught up in the enthusiasm with what's going on.
Right.
And it's a fun team to watch. It's a fun thing to be a part of in whatever level, in whatever tangential way you are. You know what I mean? And so yes, I'm not a robot.
Right.
So you get caught up. You're watching something. I'm watching something that I know I've never seen here.
Mm-hmm.
And then just to watch how the community has embraced the team and it's fun. It's fun to be a part of in any way, in whatever fashion you are. And it's exhausting for a reporter because I'm here at the airport after an hour nap. But I remember when the first time in the playoffs in '99, and driving to the airport, and I was here during the '91 run, not covering the team, but in the area. And it's fun when a community gets wrapped up into it. And it just hasn't been like that. I remember in '99, the first time, like, you go into the airport, and you're seeing signs like "Go Redskins," et cetera. And it's like, it's been a long time. And so, it's fun. If I'd be lying if I didn't say if I said I wasn't having fun, because that's what this is. And you're right. Like, it doesn't affect how I'm going to write things or anything like that. Your job is your job, but I'm also a sports fan, so I can appreciate what this moment means. Like, I know if I was a Washington fan, longtime Redskins, Commanders, football team fan, how I would feel after that game, because I know how the Indians win a game or the Guardians, because Elaine Thomas hitting a grand slam.
Right.
I lose my voice.
Right.
So, you know what I mean? Like,
so you get it, but you also know the guys, and that's different too, right? Because now you have a personal issue, and they're so damn likable, like to a man.
And here's the other thing: like, I've been around Terry McLaurin, Cosby, Tressway, Jeremy Reeves, John Allen, guys who have been through the ringer here and the crap here, and what they had to endure, and to see people like you like and respect have this level of joy is a cool thing to have a front row seat to. Absolutely. And, again, it doesn't change how I do anything, but yeah, I mean, I've known these guys for a long time. I mean, I talk to them every week, and so to see them having this kind of fun, and, again, the fan base too, because it's been hell, as you guys know, and there was never any hope for them, never any legitimate long-term hope. And now there's all this, but this is like the most unique year that people will see, however it finishes. To have these kind of finishes week after week, it's almost like the football guys said, we're going to re-energize this fan base and give you one extreme fun finish after another. And with a quarterback who's going to be a star here for a long time. Like, here you go. You deserve it.
John, didn't expect De'Ami Brown to have this type of game. Probably the game of his life so far. 5 catches, Absolutely. 89 yards, and a touchdown.
And he's another one who's been here for a while and has not achieved what people had hoped when they drafted him. But he's had a solid year for what they want him
flashes.
to do. Yeah, I think it also speaks to how. I mean, one day it's Olamide Zaccheaus having a good game, right? And so it's like, Noah Brown steps in there when he was around and healthy. So I think one of the beauties of this team is they have guys who can do things and they find ways to use them. Like, De'Ami's a really tough runner. He's really good on the screens. So they find ways to get him involved in that way. On the touchdown, I give a hockey assist to Terry McLaurin because the eyes went to him as he runs the crosser, right? And it allows De'Ami to sneak in the back, but Jayden Daniels finds him because he typically is not going to lock in on a guy. He's going to read the field. So I think that speaks to Daniels as well, that, his ability to not, I think there have been times with Terry, everybody wants him to get the ball, but he doesn't force it to him. I think that's very important and very mature. He'll get it to him, but he's not going to force it if somebody else is open. And that yesterday was De'Ami. He had some huge catches, man.
JK, this is kind of a follow-up to what Eric asked you, but, I mean, last year this team was so bad, and of course you're there every day, and you're talking to these guys, you're talking to the coaches, and you knew the coaches were gone, and a lot of the players were gone too. I mean, that was a 4-win team. This team's 13-5.
I know.
I mean, it's just unbelievable. Do you get a sense that there's I mean, obviously you weren't around these coaches last year, but is there any sense of surprise from the coaching staff as how good they are and the win total? Because I'm shocked.
Yeah, no, I'm very surprised. I think, like, even before the season, you'd hear, like, some of them thought the roster was better than what the outside world gave it credit for. And so I don't know if they're I think that's probably a better question to ask after the season when they're not locked in. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Because once you're in it, I think you stop being surprised. I think when you step away from it, you might say, like, holy hell, how did that happen?
Yeah.
You know, and not just the 13 wins, but how they got to those 13. And, you know, just one finish after another like this just doesn't happen. You know, it doesn't. And so I think that's where you could step back. I'm sure that, like, you know, I think there'd have to be an element of surprise because we're all there. And by the way, going back to what you guys asked me earlier, the other fun thing as a reporter, as someone who loves football, is this is the first year I've been able to ask football questions the entire frickin' way and just have it be about football. So from a reporter standpoint, I'm grateful for that, because there's so many years when you get to like, I have all these plans, you want to talk about this. You get to December, it's like, well, that's out the window because the team stinks, and now you got something else to talk about.
Yeah.
But anyways, this as an aside. But yeah, for these guys, I think there'd have to be an element of surprise, just because who could have predicted this?
Talking to John Keim, covers the Commanders for ESPN.com. Should we give the defense a little credit? Now, they force a couple punts, but Tampa has a super explosive offense, and they're helped by Washington's offense dominating the clock and running so many plays, but held them to a couple field goals, did force a couple punts. Washington didn't punt in the game. Should we have given the defense a little credit?
Absolutely. Listen, Bucky Irving has had a really good run here lately. And, you know, you're right. Like, the offense holding the ball for 35 minutes makes a big difference, but they didn't let Irving run wild. And my concern for them was, you know, would that happen? Like, if he's going over 100 yards, and obviously that means they're controlling the game, but that was a danger spot for me. And I thought they did a good job against him. And it wasn't perfect, but it was good. And, they talked about, like, being gas sound and all that. And it certainly felt like that watching the game. But the other thing is they didn't miss tackles. If they did, it wasn't many at all. And I think, like, with Irving, they did a good job. The defensive ends, one of the keys for him is you got to get upfield. And I felt like they did. And you could force them back inside to help. And they, a couple of times you can get the ends upfield and the backside end can make a play. Saw that. That's what they did well. And then the explosive plays, Mike Evans obviously had a few big plays, and they had a couple big pass plays. But one thing, when Baker Mayfield scrambled, he didn't hurt him as much like he did in the opener. Like the opener, that was a pain. And they got him down. They pinched him a little bit. He wants to scramble to throw, not run. And he had to run a couple times. But they did a better job than in the first game with plastering on their guys. So when he starts to scramble, they're locking on. And so that was improved as well. So, yeah, they absolutely deserve a lot of credit, in 20 points.
Yeah.
John, Mike Evans got his last night against Latimore. You touched on that. Is it more that, look, that's just a Hall of Fame receiver who's targeted heavily by Baker, or is it Latimore had missed, like the better part of a month, 6-7 weeks? He'd only been out there 2 times. Well, what did you think of Latimore's performance?
I thought he looked like a guy who'd only been out there a couple times since October. That's how it looked like to me. And, when you watch his game film, like when I watched his film from when he played Evans early in the year when he was with New Orleans, that wasn't the guy out there last night. So I don't know if it's just rust, if he's like, is his hamstring full, or what, but that didn't look like the guy that I've seen on film. And even, I think that's a hard guy to play. And I was talking to a former defensive back, just texting with him during the game, and kind of agreed with me that it just looked like someone who hasn't played in a little bit. So, I don't know. Like that's, I think that's how it came across to me. There were a couple of times like it felt like he got a little bit off balance on some of his back pedal, something like that. So, that's what stood out. But we'll see.
Is there any clarity on the Payne finger injury? Because, Payne's a warrior. I would guess unless it's like broken or like really mangled, he's not coming out of the game. You have any updates?
Yeah. No update. We'll maybe get one later today when we talk to Quinn, but nothing at this point.
Hey, real quick, John, just, we obviously, if you had to pick one guy, we've touched on it on the field that's made the biggest difference. I think we'd all agree it's Jayden. It's pretty obvious.
Yeah.
But in the locker room, you guys always talk about the brotherhood and all that stuff. Who's been the locker room guy that's changed everything?
I think there have been a few guys. But Bobby Wagner is the guy. He is, it's hard to describe. Like, he's as normal a guy who's going to the Hall of Fame as I've covered. He's just like, but I think it's the way he interacts with Jayden Daniels. Like, I think that helps things. Having
they
guys
break
like,
balls, right? That's a deal.
Oh, for sure. It's a big brother, little brother relationship for sure.
Right.
But Bobby has a knack, first of all, like, guys respect the hell out of him. Like when in the spring, when you'd ask them about, he'd walk by a scrum, they're like, there's Bobby Wagner, and their eyes would get big. But he doesn't walk around with airs. Like I've been around those guys, right, who think they're a little bit, but he's not that. And he has a knack for knowing when to say something. He knows how to lead. He knows how to prepare. I think all that stuff matters, but his personality is just like he doesn't act like he's above anybody. And I think that goes a long way when you're of his stature. And I think the guys like Zach Ertz, and it's from sometimes it's what you say, but it's also what you do. And like Zach Ertz, after the Browns game, had a bad game blocking. He's out there on Wednesday in full pads, taking Cole Turner out there, just working on his blocking. Like he works on footwork every day during practice, like off to the side when they're doing special teams work. People see that, and it goes a long way. And that's a different kind of thing than what you're talking about. But in the locker room, Bobby Wagner, I think they did a really good job, and you don't always get this, but they did a really good job of finding the right players for this team. And that's why I always say, like in free agency, people need to remember this. Don't go crazy if they don't always just sign the biggest name available at position of need. It's always about fit. Now, if it's a talented guy, that's even better. But I think they were really good and about the fit of a player, and I think that's why the locker room is really good. But Wagner's the dude in there.
John, always a pleasure talking to you. Take a deep breath. And then get ready for Detroit.
Safe trip.
All right.
Safe trip, bud.
Thanks, guys.
Yep. All right, buddy.
Good talking to you.
John Keim covers the team for ESPN.com. Of course, we're celebrating all morning. Play the music. It's Victory Monday, brought to you by Chiniga Miles, the 2024 top workplace. Visit careers with MIOS.com. If you want to chime in, 800-636-1067. It's 5 straight games that have come down to the final play, and 5 straight dubs for Washington, including their first playoff win in 20 years. 800-636-1067. We're the Junkies. Coming right back.